Hello! I have not posted a video in a little while, but that's because I was trying to kind of organize my thoughts, and I have also been going through a little bout of depression. And it kind of culminated this weekend on my little vacation from work. I didn't really go anywhere or do anything in particular, but I had a lot of time to sit around doing nothing, and sitting around doing nothing gives you time to think, and that thinking can sometimes be a bad thing, but it can also be a good thing, because if you take these bad moments and do something positive about it, then it's not such a bad thing then. And during my bout of depression, it got to a point where I actually started crying, and I can't even say what it was in particular that got me going. I actually was watching a sad Netflix show, and it just put me into a mood. And I was already kind of in a mood already. Plus I got a migraine the next day, which usually I have like a mini bout of depression right before a migraine. I can't explain why it does that, but it does. And so, yeah. So I went through it, and I have an arsenal of things that I do. I have a Pinterest board actually called Depression Helpers. And when I start going through an episode like that, I mean, after I'm able to find the strength and the energy to get on my Pinterest board and look up some helpers, I start looking at ways to do more positive thinking. I mean, I've gone over these steps a million times, but it bears repeating, because apparently I momentarily forget. So going back over those boards definitely helps. And one of the things that is something that I do, and it's part of my perfectionist habit, it's part of who I am as a person. So there's a lot of mental challenges for me to overcome, and perfectionism is the biggest one. And I have what's called all or nothing mentality. So what that means is, if I don't eat perfect all day, I feel like it was a failed day. My hand is shaking really bad. I am so sorry. ADD right there. But no, I feel like everything has to be one way or the other, or it's a failure, or it's a success. If I ate really good all day long, it was a success. If I ate one bad thing, it was a failure. And it took the longest time for me, and I still constantly battle with it in other aspects of my life. But as far as where diet and exercise are concerned, I feel like I've got a pretty good grasp on it, but it might be something that you're struggling with, so I decided to share. Overcoming all or nothing mentality, it comes from a place of a fear of judgment. Like, if I don't do this perfect, people are gonna think I'm a failure. If I don't lose the weight that I said I was going to, people are gonna say, oh, well, that's not surprising, or, well, maybe she ought to do blah, 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 and I'm just afraid someone's gonna say I'm doing a bad job, and I don't want somebody to say I'm doing a bad job. It's why I'm like the way I am at work, because I can take constructive criticism, but I will literally go home and just beat myself up over it. Like, why were you so stupid? Why weren't you thinking about that? And the thing is, I'm being human, as people are, but for me, it's the end of the world. It is the absolute worst thing that could possibly happen to me ever in the history of life, and so that's something that I have to deal with, and I deal with it less now with the eating and exercise, so I feel like it's something that maybe you face as well. And so that's why on my Doing This For Me Facebook page, my challenge is effort-based versus like, I'm gonna do 10,000 steps, or I'm gonna eat perfect all day long. I'm not gonna have any pop for 30 days. I need to make my goals achievable, or at the very least, it needs to be effort-based. Like, I did a really good job resisting pop today, or I did a really good job walking today. Doesn't matter how many steps I did. It would be nice if I could do more steps, yes, but I'm just happy at the fact that I made the effort, you know, and, you know, it's kind of like lowering your expectations and not having such high expectations of yourself. I mean, it's good to have expectations, but, you know, if those expectations cause you to quit, then are they really good for you? Maybe not. So I've been focusing more on just being mindful of my movement. And so I'm noticing, gosh, I've only been doing like 3,000 steps a day, if that. That's not very much. You know, they say minimum 10,000 steps a day. And I'm like, you know, there's got to be other ways that I can incorporate more steps into my day. And so it's at least made me more mindful that I need to move more. And so maybe I don't end up moving in, you know, by walking, but maybe I decide, well, since I haven't walked, or because it's too hot to go outside or whatever, I'm gonna, you know, come in the house and do some squats, or I'm gonna go out in the backyard and you know, do some jumping jacks, whatever it is that you like to do, you know. And something that to just go, okay, maybe I didn't do the 10,000 steps, but it's making me mindful to be active rather than sitting on the couch like I am right now. So that's something that, you know, if you have that all or nothing mentality, it's good to create effort-based goals. Because what do you do when there's a 10,000 steps challenge and you don't do the 10,000 steps? You feel like a failure. Because even though you did, say, 6,000 steps, that's still pretty good, but you're beating yourself up because you didn't do perfect. You didn't do 10,000 or more. And, you know, and then you're like, oh, I'm a failure. And look at all these people, they're doing 10,000. Well, you know, I'm just a big failure. They're so much better than me. You know, you work at your own pace. You do your own thing. Not everybody is created the same. So sometimes 6,000 steps is pretty amazing compared to what you were doing maybe 6 months ago. So, lowering your expectations is definitely a good thing. You know, realize that, you know, like I always thought that, you know, I have to eat perfect every single day. There's no room for error. But you know what? Life happens. Birthdays happen. You know, my nephew just had a birthday last month. I had a piece of cake. I had some ice cream. I took my grandkids out to eat this weekend. We had ice cream cones. Did it ruin my entire diet? No, because it was one time, you know, out of the whole month when I decided to eat something like that. What difference does it make? If I'm still making progress, what difference does it make? You know, life happens, you know, especially like with exercise too. You know, sometimes my finances don't allow me to pay for a gym membership. Sometimes my finances don't allow me to buy the food that I want to buy, you know, that would be better for me. Sometimes I have to eat the cheaper, not so good for me crap because it's what I can afford. Sometimes I don't have time between, say, coming home from work and then having to go to choir an hour and a half later. I don't have time to make a full meal for myself. Sometimes I have to go run and get fast food because I just don't have time. And maybe you've got, you know, kids in school and in sports, so you're running from one thing to the other. You just don't always have time. And in a perfect world, which we don't live in one, but in a perfect world, yeah, we'd have perfectly, you know, put together meals, and it would all be super duper healthy, and we would always have just enough time to do all the things we want to do. But the fact of the matter is, we don't. We don't live in a perfect world, and we don't have perfect lives. And sometimes there's a wrench in the plans, either because you didn't plan well enough ahead, or something came up last minute that you weren't expecting, and you gotta make do with what you got. And so, you know, that doesn't ruin anything. And for the longest time, I always said, oh, I didn't do everything perfectly for the 30 days. It's ruined. And I'm like, you know, because I always do little 30-day challenges with myself, you know, to try to build new habits and make it more part of my regular routine. And so if I didn't go pop free for 30 full days, it was ruined. You know, and maybe I drank pop 2 whole days out of that month, but it was ruined because I had pop. But when I started looking at it as more effort-based, I was like, I have never in my life gone only 28 days in a month with no pop. That's amazing. That's amazing that I went 28 days with no soda. That's amazing. But all I could focus on was what I didn't do. And what did that get me? It made me quit what I was doing. And I was like, what's the point? I just can't do it right. So then I started going back to drinking pop every day. But when I changed my mindset to, okay, I'm going to try to go 30 days without pop. Let's see how well I do. And I looked at it and I go, wow, I only had pop twice this month. It was a completely different mentality. And did I feel more positive after realizing I only had pop twice? Yes. A heck of a lot more positive than when I was beating myself up because I had pop twice. You know, the whole difference in mentality and the difference in motivation. I felt motivated. I was like, wow, if I could do it 28 days, but I can do it 29 next month. This was a breeze. My whole outlook changed. My whole outlook was completely different than when I was beating myself up for what I didn't do. I started looking at what I did do. And one of the things I've noticed on a lot of fitness vlogs and fitness pages is that they always talk about refreshing and restarting and recommitting or whatever to fitness. And I'm like, you never stopped. Why are you restarting? You never stopped. You can't restart something you never stopped doing. You realize I've been working out all along. One day of missing your workout does not mean you're not committed to fitness. One day of eating a piece of candy, or your kids' fruit snacks out of their lunchbox does not mean you have to completely restart from scratch. It means you had one little slip up and life goes on. You'll do better tomorrow, or you'll do better next week. Whatever. But beating yourself up over the fact and saying, oh, I gotta completely restart everything, or I need to cleanse my body. No, you don't. You don't. That's bullshit mentality sold to you by weight loss companies, and you gotta stop with that crap because it's never going to get you anywhere. And you want some all or nothing mentality, that's one you can take to the bank. Because, knocking yourself and killing yourself over living your life, living a life, having a life, it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And it's something that, women especially, but men too, we've been sold this idea that we have to be perfect and we have to look this way and we have to do this and we have to do that, or we're bad moms, or we're bad wives, or we're bad girlfriends, or we're just bad women in general if we don't do these things this particular way. And it's the reason why we all feel like crap about ourselves. And then when we feel like crap about ourselves, what do? We overeat, or we eat the wrong things because we're medicating that bad feeling with good food that we really, really like. And while there's nothing wrong with having that, we have it more than we should because we just feel like crap all the time. And so, we don't get to where we want to be because of that. So, you have to get really comfortable with not being perfect, because life isn't perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. These fitness gurus are definitely not perfect. I kind of laugh because my mind instantly flashed to that part of Legally Blonde where the fitness girl that was accused of murder or whatever, how she didn't want to tell anybody her alibi because she was actually going and having liposuction. And the thing is, guaranteed most of those fitness gurus have had some kind of work done, so that they look good for pictures. And it wasn't done naturally. It wasn't done by their eating habits. It wasn't done by their fitness regime. It was done by Dr. So-and-so. And here we're trying to attain that same beauty goal, and we can't because we don't have a plastic surgeon on call. Maybe you do, but likely you don't. You know, and so we're over here killing ourselves trying to be what everybody thinks we ought to be. And really what we ought to be is healthy. You know, both mentally and physically. And, or at least striving for it. You know, and trying. That's about all you really need to do. And when those things start coming together, the fitness comes right behind it. You know, I feel a lot more motivated to work out now than I did a week ago. But it's because my mentality is better. It has nothing to do with anything else different. I was eating better, which made me feel better. And I was moving around a little bit more, which made me feel better. And eventually, I felt better. And I didn't need to do anything fancy or special. I just had to take care of my mental health and take care of my physical health. Everything fell together after that. And even if I didn't lose any weight this week, I didn't gain any weight. But you know, maybe I didn't lose any weight. But I also know that I was struggling, and I have to be easier on myself because I know I was struggling this week mentally. So it's no wonder the other things didn't fall together. But now I'm making sure that, you know, I'm trying to slowly clear out my cupboards again, get the bad food out that I know is gonna make me feel like crap and or not put me in the best place mentally. And only have the minimum what I need for when my grandkids come to visit. But I'm more focused on taking care of my mental health. I've got a whole list of little self-care things that I've been trying to do. You know, took a nice aromatherapy shower with a special body gel or whatever. Shaved my legs, which I hardly ever do anymore. Bought a new outfit to make me feel good in. You know, even though it's not like a goal weight outfit, it was something nice to buy for myself because I have been working really hard and I have been getting it together. And it was just taking care of myself mentally. I spent some time alone. I could have gone out with friends and socialized myself, but I was not in a place to do that. And rather than try to push myself beyond a limit that my mental capacity had, I spent time alone and I was reading and I was making lists of things I want to do and goals that I have, you know, things I'd like to eventually do, like a bucket list of sorts, things I'd want to do with my life, you know, and hopefully I can get to a few of them over the next year. And then I distracted myself a little bit with watching, you know, rewatching a favorite TV show or whatever. I watched a sad movie to get some of the pent-up emotions that I wasn't able to really express. It helped me get that out so I could like cry it out. And I did feel a lot better when I was done, and I was actually able to get up off the couch and go do something after I had a good cry. You know, it's all about self-care. So anyhow, that's the first part of this series about, you know, getting a more positive mindset. So to you know, reiterate, it's just stopping the all or nothing behavior. Just because you have one bad day doesn't mean you ruined your fitness. Just because you ate one bad thing doesn't mean your diet is ruined or that you have to restart all over again. You don't have to do any of that. Just pick up where you left off and, you know, start right that very second when you're like, oh man, I just had that ice cream. Go, okay, well, tonight I'm gonna have a nice salad or whatever. I'm gonna have, you know, I'm gonna get within my calories today with at least my dinner, you know, something. Or, well, today might not have gone the way I thought, but tomorrow I'm gonna plan a little bit better what I'm gonna have. And you'll start thinking a little bit more about, okay, well, what can I do to make my calories fall within the range tomorrow? What kind of fitness can I do to get myself together tomorrow? You know, it's a new day. You know, no time like the present to get started. So anyhow, if you have that type of a challenge, you know, maybe give me a comment. Let me know what challenges maybe you're facing in that area. Maybe we can talk about it or whatever. And hopefully you have a good weigh-in next week. I did my weigh-in this week, and I did really well towards the beginning of the week, but as I did my second weigh-in for the week, I usually try to do like 2 a week, and the one today was not exactly where I wanted it to, but it did go back down, so I'm really kind of basically in the same place that I was last week, but I didn't get more, so that's okay. I start to look at things like, well, I didn't gain. You know, I may not have lost, but I didn't gain. And gaining is bad in my head. So, you know, I guess take the victories where you can. So, anyhow, I guess I will talk to you on my next video. And have a wonderful week. Bye.